City volunteers in Mozambique assess damages in the aftermath of a tropical cyclone. City volunteers in Zhanghua shared the award with the master during her island-wide tour. Welcome to Diet Headlines. I'm Sue. Thank you for joining us. Cyclone Eloise has impacted Mozambique's Sofala province. Over 20,000 families have been displaced. Tika Middle School has become temporary shelter with over 500 families staying there. Meanwhile, in Beira City, the floodwater has not receded.
In Beira, Mozambique, the roads have become streams as the water levels are as high as half a tire tall. The vehicles must proceed carefully on the road as to avoid falling into the ditch on the side. Cyclone Eloise has struck Mozambique, and Chipo, who lives in Namatanda, saw his straw hut home destroyed by the wind and rain. His food supplies are low, so he sent his children to their relatives, unsure how he's going to rebuild. Tika Middle School, which Tzu Chi once held a free clinic in, has become an emergency shelter. There are currently more than 500 families there taking shelter, receiving hot meals from the National Disasters Management Institute. This disaster has caused many areas to not have electricity, while bridges have been damaged. Local volunteers travel on foot through the muddy water to survey firsthand, so they can report back the assessment to provide timely assistance to the disaster victims.
After a tropical cyclone tore through Mozambique, it devastated many small towns, including Tika. Many local residents were forced to evacuate. To help with relief efforts, Tzuchi's local volunteers are conducting the disaster survey.
The white tents are home to those who have evacuated from their house during the Cyclone Eloise disaster. This is the emergency shelter in Tika, where there are about 2,000 people temporarily living here.
There
are plenty of challenges here at the emergency shelter, like not enough food or water, as well as mosquito nets for sleeping.
The National Disasters Management Institute and an overseas NGO, UKA Direct, have provided tents for the evacuees, but residents have not been able to take anything with them when they left. They are barely getting by each day.
These past few days have been hard. This plate in my hand is our only meal of the day. My kids are hungry, but we can only wait until tomorrow to eat.
After we escaped from our home, we have been hungry. We don't have a bed or netting. We don't have a place to sleep. It's so hard because each year around this time we suffer from flooding.
After listening to the needs of the victims, the young volunteers visit the nearby village to check out the current condition and find that the flood has not receded, while the harvests have all been destroyed.
We can see all the corn in the field has been destroyed. These used to be corn stalks, and it's all submerged in water. The farmers' hard work and harvest is gone. Some have planted rice, but it's the same. It has been destroyed in the cyclone.
After the cyclone, many people have escaped to the emergency shelter in Tika, so all we can see now are animals.
At night, there is no lighting equipment at the emergency shelter. The darkness around them seems to represent their hopelessness about the disaster. It is hoped they can return to their home as soon as possible.
Earlier in January, Pahang, Malaysia suffered massive flooding. After a survey named roster was built, volunteers distributed relief aid to 54 families.
Churo of Pahang's Raub is an agricultural region, with main crops being rubber trees, palm trees, and durians. Earlier this year, a massive rainstorm and flooding severely impacted the village.
At least 20 to 30 families in this village have been severely impacted. Their household items are all destroyed. The villagers are having a hard time recovering. They are also so grateful to Tzu Chi for the assistance they are receiving. So thankful.
The flood water has enlarged the door, and I can't close it now. It was underwater for 3 days.
After gathering the roster of victims, volunteers go door to door to deliver relief funds.
Dengan duit ini saya boleh membeli barang-barang kerosakan.
I will use this money to purchase the furniture that has been damaged in the house. This will reduce my burden during COVID.
Di samping musim COVID sekarang ni.
Li Tianxiok, who is wearing a Tzu Chi uniform, is also a victim of the flooding, but she seized this opportunity to help.
I was thinking that this disaster was so intense. I needed to come help. That feeling is not something you can imagine. As a person who is also affected by this, I can relate. It feels horrible. The sisters helped me to manually remove the water, so I didn't have to hire a pump. Last time I had 2 pumps to remove the water, which took about an hour.
In diversity, one can rise above it by helping another, which is exactly what Mr. Theng is doing.
Last time during the flood, Tzu Chi came and my wife wanted to help the poor, so she donated $100 to Tzu Chi. Later she said, let's just donate it all to Tzu Chi. We'll just get by with less money. Tzu Chi people are good-hearted people. They help everyone of different religions, even though we are Catholics.
During the distribution, the volunteers don't forget to promote the bamboo coin bank in hopes of inspiring the recipients to give back as well.
At the end of the year, Tzu Chi volunteers are delivering New Year gifts to care recipients and solitary seniors. Due to the pandemic, the year-end hot pot gatherings have been canceled. Despite that, volunteers pack supply cards and New Year gifts and deliver them to families in need. Double-checking the names on the roster, Tzu Chi volunteers are delivering New Year gifts to solitary seniors in Northern District at the end of the year.
This is the 3rd year we are delivering charity supply cards. This represents our love and best wishes for solitary seniors. We wish them safety year after year.
While the bags of New Year gifts have been replaced by supply cards, volunteers' best wishes remain unchanged. At the storage at Tzu Chi Sanchong grounds, the small gifts include multigrain powder, instant noodles, and rice porridge.
The benefits of using the supply card is that the seniors can go buy food when they have the needs. It fits their lifestyle.
The seniors have told us that they like the way of distribution. They can buy what they want during the new year. We feel at ease about this.
Tzu Chi volunteers hurried to deliver more than 800 sets of New Year gifts to solitary seniors.
These items are gifts from Tzu Chi Foundation. Wish you good health and longevity.
This couple, who are retired university professors, live a simple life as their children are abroad. They look forward to the volunteers' visit.
You come to visit me often, so I'm very happy. It is as if I have many additional daughters.
As volunteers care for this senior couple, they no longer feel lonely and could have someone to rely on. The pandemic in Hong Kong continues, and the lives of low-income families have become even more difficult. City volunteers rushed to the mountainous street to visit impoverished residents. They sent in 200 care packages to satisfy their basic needs.
The pandemic in Hong Kong continues, and life here is even more difficult. Tzu Chi volunteers pay home visitations in the dark.
For the care package distribution event, we come to Wan Hon Street to do household survey, hoping to find out some disadvantaged households to give them blessings and care before the Lunar New Year.
Subdivided flats generally refer to the subdivision of a flat in an old building into several units for renting. Owing to the high housing costs in Hong Kong, this living phenomenon is quite common.
Thank you to Tzu volunteers for coming to our Wan Hong mansion to visit for several times or hosting many activities. Visit our solitary seniors or some impoverished households to conduct surveys, trying to satisfy their needs.
The staff of this building, who have been working in the community for more than 30 years, accompanies the volunteers to go to different households to provide care and post event leaflets along the street.
I feel very happy because I can help those in need.
It's okay, there's rice and oil to care for us poor people.
200 care packages are distributed in 4 locations to send out warmth and epidemic prevention materials, as well as filling the stomach of those living in the forgotten corners of society.
In Zhanghua, city volunteers have been caring for inmates, and their efforts won the recognition of the Ministry of Interior. As Dharma Master Zheng visited Zhanghua, volunteers shared their award and honor with the master. The little insects look very real. Volunteers have used packaging bags in a creative way.
I make baskets and I tell them to use less plastic bags when they go grocery shopping.
Among the products is 108 ants. In the sutra adaptation, a year-end blessing ceremony, the ants amaze the viewers. It is able to turn because of second-hand bicycle parts. The volunteers overcome different challenges to create these products.
西米高耸望切步啦，哈，和和互写和动形。
就是练心啦，所以呢，事中得法啦，那开智慧。
Meanwhile, city volunteers have been caring for inmates in Zhanghua. They encourage the inmates to do recycling and say no to drugs. Last year, the Ministry of Interior has awarded city volunteers for their work. The master encourages the volunteers to seize the time to transform sentient beings.
大家人心连心啦，脚步连接哈，那身体力行。
Volunteers work with one mind and one heart to benefit the public and nurture their wisdom. Tzu Chi's mobile recycling education station is on tour in the central regions of Taiwan. It stopped at 6 locations and over 10,000 people showed up. As Master Zheng visited Taichung, volunteers shared results on the effort to promote recycling.
Students gathered in the booth in order to understand the concepts of recycling.
If everyone can do 5R, then the garbage we create may be reduced.
Starting last year in November, Tzu Chi's mobile recycling education station went to 6 different locations in central Taiwan, as over 10,000 people attended. Amongst the locations, this elementary school especially welcomed Tzu Chi. From the perspectives of Qiaoren Elementary School students, they have witnessed the standard SOP of recycling from volunteers as each step matters.
我们要把这个标签呢贴在我们的洗手台的旁边，那提醒大家做什么事？节约用水。
Enforcing the concepts of eco-friendliness and through education, students are able to do so in their daily lives.
As the campus begins eco-friendly actions, and under the assistance of Tzu Chi volunteers, 10,000 PET bottle caps are brought in to create beautiful artworks.
校长建立了校风，老师呢愿意这样的核心推动哈，这是一个学校的希望。
With the correct ideals passed on to the next generation, the seeds of eco-friendliness begin to sprout.
At the year-end blessing ceremony in China's Hainan this year, volunteers appeared online through video conferencing. During the meeting, volunteers acknowledged the efforts of everyone and prayed for a better year ahead.
Due to the pandemic, the year-end blessing in Hainan this year changed to an online event. But what has to be done must be completed. Though the pandemic struck last year, volunteers never stopped doing recycling.
At our age, we must do good deeds, avoid playing mahjong and gambling, as we must do things that benefit others.
Although the event meant everyone had to interface through a computer or a cell phone screen, the process of a year-end blessing event remains the same. While some prayed for a better year, some took the time to reflect upon themselves.
I feel that I live in happiness, true happiness. So if we're so happy, why don't we feel it sincerely?
I will use the toy fully, and when it cannot be used, I will throw it away. When we throw it away, while it has use, it produces waste to our planet.
As volunteers from Haikou and Qionghai met online, everyone in the meeting prayed for a better year.
As the pandemic continues to impact the world, overseas city volunteers have not been able to visit Taiwan to join Dharma Master Zheng on her journey across the island. Therefore, the religious department of Tzu Chi Foundation opened up her teachings via live feed.
Sitting in front of the phone and listening to the master's teachings, this volunteer is jotting down words of wisdom. COVID-19 is still impacting the world, and overseas Tzu Chi volunteers are following the master's teachings through a live feed.
非常感恩台湾
We're thankful Taiwan has opened up the video link to us so we can have the opportunity to follow the master on her journey around Taiwan. During the pandemic, we have gone from complaining about it to accepting it. We have learned how to adapt. There are 1,200 groups online, and that strength is very powerful. During the movement control order, we cannot leave our homes, so I think that's the biggest lesson we have to learn, which is self-cultivation.
借这个随时的因缘，我们是往内在修。
Tzu Chi Malaysia chapter is sharing the master's teachings during her journey in Taiwan using an online social platform. After listening in, the volunteers share what they have learned.
The master says life lessons and education are very important. The master says she must spread the Dharma, she must spread vegetarianism, and she must continue to promote it. We all hope for an end to this pandemic soon.
The master says we must follow the Noble Eightfold Path on our cultivation journey. We must have straight vision and straight thinking. We cannot misalign our thinking or vision. We need to know the battle of good and bad.
At the end of the sharing, the volunteers light up their heart lamp and pray sincerely for a new year with more love in the air.
In Pontian, Malaysia, the wounds on a Tzu Chi recipient's feet were unable to heal for 10 years. After learning about the situation, Tzu Chi volunteers brought Tima doctors to examine and clean her wounds.
On this day, many people appear in Chen Baoyun's home out of a sudden.
那么邢师姐就告诉我，关在这里呢有一位病患，脚呢。
Sister Heng told me that there's a patient here in Pontian with a very serious wound on the foot. She hoped I could come here to have a look. After I arrived, I found that both her left and right feet have wounds, which are caused by a vein problem. The wounds have been there for 10 years, so the patient actually does not have much hope for the wounds to be treated.
The patient, Chen Baoyun, endured the pain and let the doctor clean the wound, but the treatment has just begun.
She must reduce her weight. To be more specific, she should not drink coffee anymore because she likes to drink coffee very much. Then she should also reduce eating stir-fried noodles that she must eat every day. She must understand that to treat the wounds, half the responsibility is on the medical team, while the other half is on herself. Her wounds would only be cured after the cooperation of the patient and the medical team.
Tzu Chi's visit to my sister really helps us a lot because we have been longing for a doctor to come to examine her.
To heal the wounds as soon as possible, apart from relying on the help of medical staff, more importantly, the active cooperation of the patient and the attentive companionship of family members will make the long road to recovery smoother.
Pickle foods are processed. Although the production itself's history indicate on the packaging, how can the production process be made transparent? In addition to government's check, there are also companies that offer sort of resume for their products.
Pickled foods are very popular in many traditional markets. In this particular vegetable market in Jiayi, we see many selling pickled vegetables, plums, dried vegetables, and bamboo shoots. In fact, these foods are marked with expiration dates when they come out of the factory. Remember to ask the store about this.
This pickled cabbage has a shelf-life. It is right there, and here is the production history indicating it is from which factory and how long it can be kept.
For pickled foods, one thing that one needs to be aware of is pesticide residues or excessive sulfur dioxide and preservatives. According to the Food Safety and Hygiene Management Law, an entire barrel of pickles must be clearly marked when they leave the factory. But if they are sold in bulk, consumers need to be extra careful.
It smells fragrant, and it smells pickled cabbage. If it is bad, you can smell it. Even a child knows if this produce is not good. You can even handle it and see if it is rotten.
The Food and Drug Administration will manage it from the source. Although it is bulk food, we will ask the factory at the source that it must comply with the hygiene management and food safety.
When the day is hot and sunny, it is the best time to collect radish.
It's very easy to put it up, but this one seems a bit small. Generally, the radish we see in the vegetable market can be used to pickle as dried vegetables. Only this variety called hua gan can be used, and when they use this to make pickled vegetables, it will take up to 20 to 30 years.
It is said that she wanted hua gan radish, not white radish. So I went to Qisan to the Meidong seed shop and asked everywhere about the such seeds for the hua gan radish. Then my brother-in-law went to my mother's home in Dongshi and asked, and they did find it. I was so happy to find these seeds.
This joyful scene in the field is promoting a quiet revolution in production and sales of agricultural products with special resumes.
When exporting to the foreign countries, I have always encountered the problem that foreign countries doubt our production history in Taiwan. So I thought if I wanted to export this pickle vegetable to a foreign country, I must first take it and make a standard blockchain production history.
Here there are not only special resumes for organic agricultural products, but also meteorological instruments set up on the land to record soil and climate information. That is digitizing and using science to track past agricultural experience all the way through production, which is uploaded by a blockchain.
We will adjust it according to the different humidity and light. Up to 25 kinds of salt are used. It is not refined salt. All of it is called salt and rock salt because I need the trace elements in it.
A layer of salt, a layer of radish begins the process, which could last at least 20 years.
There's water in this bucket. It acts as a stone pressing onto it. It's cleaner and more hygienic.
The most important thing is that this process will be uploaded to the blockchain and become part of an unchangeable production resume.
Now this one is completely pickled. Like this one here, it has been pickled for 20 to 30 years. There are some crystal on it. It is not salt. It is crystallized and crystalline salt.
We can see from the color and luster that this one is a 20-year-old preserved vegetable, and the darker color is a 30-year-old preserved vegetable.
Salt can have the effect of dehydration. When the moisture in the food is reduced, the microorganisms will not be able to use the moisture, so the product can be stored longer in a proper fashion. But the packaging must be used to reduce the moisture. When moisture is returned to the product again, the product will deteriorate or even become moldy.
Through a complete and transparent production history and resume, these preserved vegetables can be turned into a sustainable business opportunity. When over Asian diners, the food left behind by our ancestors can be upgraded through the help of modern technology, helping Taiwan's pickled foods gain fame internationally.
During winter break, students from a high school in Kaohsiung performed shadow puppet show for seniors in the community. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.